we've gotten everyone sat down. I'm going to apologize for those who don't have anywhere to write. We were gauging for about 20 people, and I think there's at least double that. So, which is totally fine. I'm super excited to teach you all about this. I'm a quiet speaker by nature, so I'm trying really hard right now to speak loudly. If you need me to speak louder, please let me know. As we get into it, I will probably dip back down again, but yeah, please tell me. Thank you, Kelly. Yeah, give me a thumbs up. Okay. No, it's okay. Don't worry about that right now. Thank you, though. I'll explain that here in a minute. I think we're good. Thank you. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I know it's a little warm in here. We propped the door open, so hopefully we get some airflow. Yeah. I might shut it here in a minute because I am. Anyway. Okay. Perfect. Okay, well, let me start with this first. This is as dim as I can get the front lights. Those of you who've been to my classes before, usually I have a very light colored slideshow. I've tried changing it to light text on dark background to try and account for that. So please bear with me on that. Can everyone raise your hand if you can't hear me well? Great. Again, please let me know as I go on. If I start dipping back down in volume, I will try to keep speaking louder. All right. Great. Okay. I see tons of new faces. Thank you for coming. I see tons of faces that I've seen many times. Thank you for coming back. I have to plug it in. Okay. So let me explain what everything was in the back. So Kelly does a registration to go into the class. That's not what that sign-up sheet is. That sign-up sheet is for me. So I have these slides, and then you see the handout, and then I record the video. If you want to, you can give me your name and your email, and I will send all that to you in an email so you can rewatch this later, or if you mark up your handout and you want a new one, you can print it off yourself, etc. So don't feel like that's something you have to do. It's just for my purposes. Man, it's been a while since I've had to explain the whole thing again, so I'm trying to remember everything. There's also notebook paper back there if you just want something to scribble on. And I think we're good. Oh, on the sign-up sheet, if you've been here before and I've already had your email once, just put your name. I'm not going to remember who all was here. So even though I have your email before, I'm going to forget, and I want to make sure you have the content. Okay. Most of my classes, as we're going through it, I'm totally okay with answering questions as we go. This is a huge group. So to try and keep us on track, I have pause areas. It's literally a slide that says pause. So if you have questions, write them down, because I don't want you to forget the question in the moment. But it's going to be easier for us to keep going if we ask questions at that time. Perfect. Any questions on any of that so far? Cool. Okay. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Dylan Wisdom. Bonnie is my grandmother. She is the one who introduced me to the YMCA, so you can all thank her for me being here. I'm a systems administrator and IT consultant. You don't really have to understand what that is. That's just what I am. I've been doing it for a little over 7 years now, probably closer to 8 or 9. I don't really remember anymore. Part of the administration and the consulting, I am certified by CompTIA in security, which is a globally recognized certification for security fundamentals, things like that. Again, I'm just putting this up here for the people who've been here before, just so you know that I'm not some nut trying to give you some crazy information, right? Great. I'm going to make sure my video is recording one more time. I have trust issues with technology. And that looks perfect. Okay. And again, I'm wearing a microphone and the video is pointed straight at the screen. No one's going to be in it. So I don't want to make anyone feel uncomfortable. So I don't really know what else to call this, but I always have this here. My information is at the back table. If you have any questions, comments, concerns on anything that I'm teaching, I'm always open to this. The reason why, which you can see for yourself, why I'm here today teaching this topic is because I got an influx of requests for it. So I'm glad that everyone who is asking me to do that has showed up. Okay. These are my emails. They'll look something like this. When you get them, the presentation will be here, which is the video. The slides and the handout will be in this little link here. And then usually after every class, you'll see me jot down some notes. Usually what that is are questions that I've been asked that I don't have a really good answer on. And so usually I'll investigate those a little more, post that on a blog so you can have that information. So. And then if you ever miss any of my classes and you always want that, and if you want that information, there's a link on my business cards back here and at the top of your handout where you can go there and there's my articles, my videos, and my files, which is all the slides and so on and so forth. Any questions so far? This class is slated from 10 o'clock to 11:30. I'm going to try my best to get it done by 11:30. If it hangs over a little bit, I'm not going to be rushing out of here right at 11:30. I want to make sure I can give you guys as much content as possible. Okay, any questions before we get into it? Am I going to have to separate you two? Okay. Okay, I'm going to close it for a few minutes. Okay. You're welcome. Okay, so today's kind of class is going to follow this kind of order. So we're going to go, and this whole class is a very 101 thing. So if you guys were hoping, not saying that we can't in the future, I have a feeling that there's going to be many offshoots of this starter class. But if you were hoping to like go into the deep side of it, we probably won't get there today. But I figured it's always nicer to build on top of basic knowledge because I have a lot of people asking me like, even what is AI? So some people already know what AI and using it and they want to use it more. We're not quite there yet. We're going to start at the basics. So again, what is AI? How we can use it in a general sense. We're going to get to it a little bit. Then we're going to go into like the security side of AI and how you should interact with it, things to be aware of. And then we're going to get a little theoretical about kind of where this landscape is going and what people are projecting it to become. Okay? Okay, disclaimer. I always want to provide you guys with information that you want to have. I've had some him and haws whether I should teach this subject or not because it is very bleeding edge. The information is always changing. So I am totally comfortable teaching the subject if you keep that in mind that things are adapting with this topic, right? Things that I may say now may not be the same in a month. Right, exactly. So I just felt responsible to say that. It's not that big of a deal, but anyway. Okay, any questions? Great. Okay, so what is AI? And is everyone hearing me okay still? Cool. What is AI? So, very simple definition. AI is when computers learn, and I'll explain what that is, from data and make decisions to assist humans. That's all it is, in a nutshell. Common terms related to this is artificial intelligence, which is what AI stands for. Artificial meaning not real, right? We're trying to mimic human thought, and we'll get into why that's not really true even today. Machine learning, which is essentially what AI has grown into, or from. Machine learning was kind of the precursor to what we call AI now. They're very similar. An algorithm, and I'll get into that the next slide. Data, what does it mean when they say data? Data this, data that, AI uses data. I'm going to try and explain that a little bit, and then bias. So again, algorithm and data I'll explain here in a few minutes. Bias is something that we will discuss, but I want to be clear on that. Bias right now is, so for very many AI models nowadays, their goal is to please the person that they're trying to help, right? So there's already a bias there, meaning that the information that they're providing you is always trying to be correct. It's not always necessarily correct, but it's important to understand that AI is not unbiased. It is very, or can be very biased. Okay, so how AI learns. So again, we mentioned data, right? But really what they're using is they're using algorithms. And algorithms are a way of taking data, and I'll explain what that is, and then making it all make sense together. So they have people way smarter than me are paid lots and lots of money to figure out how to tie all that together. But that's essentially all they're doing. They're taking a formula and they're saying, okay, if you put this in, you're going to get this out. And so it studies examples. So an example could be like some of the earliest models of machine learning we had in AI was of object detection, right? Has anyone used a camera system, even at home? A lot of them now. It'll say like, oh, an animal crossed your yard, or a person is at your door, or anything like that. So that technology has been around for a long time. So essentially, what they do is they give a computer a million different examples, and I quite mean literally a million or more examples of what a person is versus an animal. And then because it has so many different examples, it's able to find patterns between those things. And as it finds patterns, it makes predictions. And this is the scary part. This is where we start getting into the bias and the information not always necessarily being accurate. And then as people, we always tell it, oh no, that's not a person, that's a whatever. And then it takes that into account, part of the algorithm, to figure out what it is, or to output a correct response. Okay, so I wanted to explain this a little bit because everyone says AI, right? Saying AI is about the same thing as saying technology. Oh, you're using technology to do this, or you're using technology to do that. What does that mean, right? So AI is not just one thing, it is a category of things, if that makes sense. Pretty much all we have right now is narrow AI. And that means we have built these AI models, as we'll call them. And a model is essentially a configuration of an algorithm and its purpose. Meaning it's to do one thing. Even these crazy things that they're coming out, they're designed to do those one things. We don't truly have what we call general AI now, or what they're calling general AI. It may change because it's more of a theoretical thing that's starting to become, meaning it's good at everything. That's true intelligence. We're not quite there yet. And then there's some terms about what is going to happen after general AI, but it's all theoretical, so I'm not going to mention that there. But underneath all the single task things, we have things that just do stuff based on rules. So if 1 + 1 = 2, then do this. I had some good examples of this. Smart thermostats. Doesn't seem like AI, but it kind of is. It's a form of intelligence, and it's rule-based. If it's 7 o'clock in the morning, set my thermostat to this. If it's 8 o'clock at night, set it to this. That's what we're talking about. Machine learning is more generic, meaning that you're going to give it some data, like I said, pictures for camera, and it's going to kind of come up with, okay, maybe it doesn't know it's human, but it knows that these objects all look similar, and these objects all look similar, so there's different things, right? And then there's generative. Generative AI is what a lot of the hot topic stuff is about. Generative AI is designed around producing things. And I'll get into what those things are here in a little bit. But this is really like the ChatGPT, Gemini, Copilots of the world is nowadays. They're narrow AIs that are generative. Yep. So generative AI, it can create chats, messages, music, videos, voice, code, anything you can think of for the most part. And then hang on.
That one. Oh, okay.
No, you're.
To this.
Mm-hmm.
Is this where I know my son will put in the phone. He'll put in the phone and say, give me a nice message to my mom. Is
Yes.
that part of this?
Yes.
Okay.
So.
And then they create something.
Yeah. No, hang on. That's different. Hang on. You're fine. So she asked, "Is this like where you tell something like a chat, write me a message based on this, and then it outputs a whole message for you?" That is generative AI, and that is usually what we talk about with chat.
Thank you.
No problem. I will. The next slide is the question slide, so I will answer. No, you're okay. So the big names in the industry right now are ChatGPT, which I'm sure we've all heard of. They're really the ones who started this whole huge trend. They're kind of like the founding fathers at this point. Copilot is Microsoft product, and Gemini is a Google product. And both of these use similar models to ChatGPT. The company that owns ChatGPT, which is the product, the company is called OpenAI, and they essentially they designed the base of it, and other companies are using that or implementing that. So when I say generic here, so this has for some reason kind of become like the symbol of AI. So I use a lot of apps, and almost every app now says do this with AI or do that with AI, right? Has anyone had experience with that? And then it tends to be inside those apps when they're using AI, it kind of looks like this. And a lot of the time, those apps, you're using that app, but they're using these in the background. You'll never see it. But these are kind of the faces of AI right now, the main ones. There is thousands of names out there you will see, but these are the most popular name brand, I'll say.
Are we supposed to decide which one to use?
We can get into that. Yeah. So that is a great question. It's like, okay, so you see this AI, that AI, whatever. Are you supposed to choose what to use? The answer is yes. How to choose? That depends, right? So I'll give you just one example. Like ChatGPT is very generic, meaning it's good at a lot of broad tasks. And we'll get into exactly what those are. This is Copilot. Copilot is owned by Microsoft. So it actually plugs in with Microsoft products. So if you're looking at like word processing, PowerPoints, anything like that, it actually plugs its AI directly into those products. And so it makes it stronger in that sense. So it's a lot of task based. A lot of people start interacting with AI with how they're wanting to use it. Yeah, does that make sense? So it's like, so I guess you should ask yourself first before, what AI do I use? Ask, what do I want to achieve? And then you're going to pick the best tool for that achievement. Yes? I've never used a Copilot or Gemini. Yeah, I think I have a slide on that later, but just as a general sense, so like ChatGPT is a website, chatgpt.com. Copilot, and it has a free version, and I'll get into that, which is why you can usually use it. Copilot is a paid for thing from Microsoft, just like you would pay for Word, Excel, etc. Copilot's kind of a hybrid, I would call it, where it does have like a copilot.microsoft.com, and you can go and chat with it like you do ChatGPT. But it's also baked in to other products like Word or Excel. So by using Word, it's already baked in there if you pay for Copilot. Can you block them? Yes, you can. There's privacy things that I don't get into because it depends on which platform you're on. Like my Mac is going to have its own way of blocking that kind of thing. Microsoft's going to have its own way. Your phone, your tablet, it's going to be slightly different, but usually that's in privacy stuff. And most of the time with like when I say privacy stuff, what I'm talking about is like, do you guys ever get those really long pages of like, hey, allow us to use your data, and then a lot of people just hit yes and they go on. But usually in there, there's language that says, oh, are we allowed to use this data to train our models, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah. And I use the term privacy because privacy and security are two different terms, but they tend to be used interchangeably. Privacy is really information that is not considered completely identifiable to you. but data you may not want people having. Whereas security is usually involving protecting data where people can commit fraud against you or things like that. So there's a small variation there. But like with Copilot, so ChatGPT, you have to interact with it. Copilot's baked into certain products. But the good and bad of it is, even though it's baked into the products, you have to pay to use it, so they're not going to put it in the product for free. So, or at least we trust that they don't. Yes?
ChatGPT and those systems like that are only as good as the people that put the information into the system
Yep.
to begin with.
We'll get there. But you're absolutely right. Yep.
The GPT stands for what?
I don't know. Yeah. Good point. I should actually know that, but I don't really know. I think the G is general because it's ChatGPT was designed to be good at a whole bunch of different tasks. Yes.
Generative, pre-trained, transformed. Generative, pre-trained, transformed.
Generative, pre-trained, transformed. Which I think, yes, and based on what you just said, thank you for researching that for me. So based on that, generative, pre-trained, transformed has to do with the way in which those terms are for how it processes data. So I am sure the GPT is describing how it produces those chats. So it generates, I can't remember what the P was, and then transforms. Pre-trained, thank you. Yes?
If I put into Google and I put it as a question, it's always going to come up, and I don't know if it's Gemini that's doing that or which one, but it comes up, that's the first answer I get when I put a question in, and then I get the other.
Yes. Yes, so exactly. So as you're going through this, we're going to learn that a lot of our interaction with AI is not direct. You're not going to AI. It's kind of baked into other things we're using. So yes, a lot of you have probably noticed that Google, the first response they have now is actually a small AI blip that you'll see. And that's and most likely that's Gemini on the background. I haven't researched Gemini really, really hard, to be honest, because it's been in beta for a very long time, meaning that it's not full-fledged at this point. It's still kind of being developed. But in the very early days, ChatGPT and Copilot were released very close together, and that's because Copilot is designed to work inside of Microsoft products, but it's really using ChatGPT's brain on the back end. Yeah.
Do you have to have the newer version of Microsoft Office that has Copilot in it?
Yes, I believe so. I think it is only compatible with Microsoft 365. So if you have any, and I would want to clarify, but if you have any Word 2000 something, it's probably not compatible. And that's number one, they don't want to put a new software into an old software, and Microsoft wants everyone on 365, so they're going to make it. That's half marketing, half technical. So, okay.
I think we just had the pause.
Yeah. Okay, so everyone talks about, and this is a very deep subject, but this is one slide, so bear with me on that. But everyone talks about what AI can do, but we don't hear as much about what it can't do. It can't provide creativity. And that's what we really need to be aware of. As Kathy was saying, all the information that ChatGPT is spitting out is all stuff that it's gotten in at some point, or it's read off the internet, or et cetera, et cetera. It doesn't come up with ideas. It compiles information. Does that make sense?
Yeah, library.
Exactly. It is. It is the fastest library. Think about Google searching. So Google searching, when you search something in Google, you're just looking at links, right? And then you find that information, and then you read and you determine. Yeah. So what AI or what like ChatGPT does is it goes and it uses Google for you, and then it's really good at creating messages that are human readable. So it looks at 100 links, and it's like, okay, based on the general consensus of this is what everyone's saying. Again, websites are biased. So if or can be biased. So if you're getting biased information in, you can get biased information in. In AI, there's a term or a saying that we say, garbage in, garbage out, right? So if you put bad information into it, the algorithm, the data is going to produce garbage. Of course, we're always working to try and refine that, but it's true. Okay, is everyone still hearing me okay?
Doing a good job.
Thank you. I'm going to pay for it later.
Maybe you need to get a microphone.
I know, I probably do. Okay, this is just kind of fun because I know everyone is scared about the future of AI, and we'll get into that more, but at least at this point, it is not taking over the world. I work in technology. ChatGPT can do many things that I can do. I have colleagues in marketing. I have colleagues in this. I have colleagues in that. I have colleagues in documentation where all they do is write documentation. ChatGPT is very good at that. At this point in time, and I think in the near future, it's all being a supplement to our work. It doesn't replace me, but it does make my job a lot more efficient. It's not replacing me yet, right? And we'll get more. I have a whole section on the future of this, but at this point, it's not actually intelligence. We're getting really loose with the term intelligence. It is still just a machine, and it is kind of funny sometimes, some of the stuff that ChatGPT will just spit out, and you're like, it's been drinking or something, I don't know. Okay, so just to recap, AI means artificial intelligence. AI learns by finding patterns. That also means bad patterns, right? Most AI today is called narrow AI, which means it is very good at doing one thing. It is not truly intelligent, meaning like humans, we can pretty much pick up skills. Will it take us time? Yes, but ChatGPT is designed to generate things. That is what it does. Generative AI. AI comes in many forms. We'll get to that more because, like I said, a lot of us are interacting with AI indirectly. And it isn't taking over the world yet.
That's good.
Questions?
Go back a couple of slides, so you had emotions on there?
Yeah, sorry, going the wrong way. It cannot provide
Yeah,
emotions.
You had emotions and something else, and you didn't touch on that.
Oh, sorry.
True understanding and creativity.
There.
Can I step on it?
Yeah, go for it.
Oh, there. Yeah. Provides emotions, provides true understanding.
Oh,
You
you're
didn't
right.
touch on those.
I'm sorry. No. But you're absolutely right. I digressed. So it can't provide emotions, right? There's a lot of stories. If you want to Google and look into it, some of it's good and some of it's bad. But because ChatGPT, what it was designed to do, it is doing a lot of other things now. But it was first designed to be able to mimic human language, not think like humans, but mimic language. And because of that, a lot of the models people have confided in those chats, and there's been some strange things where people start to feel emotionally attached to these machines. And anyway, it's just to point out that they aren't emotional. They give you emotion based on what they have been trained to think humans like. So in other words, if you want to be validated, it's going to validate you, right? If you tell it you love it, it's going to tell you it loves it back because it wants to make you happy. That's, yeah. And it does not have true understanding. It has information, and it can provide you with information, and it can make information very digestible. But that doesn't necessarily mean that it has ethics behind it. Like if you ask it how to, they have certain protections back on the back end. But if you ask it how to build a weapon, and it tells you how to build that, it's not saying, I don't know if I should tell a 16-year-old kid how to build a weapon, right? Yeah, so it's not ethical. It doesn't have an understanding. It just input in, input out. Thank you. I did miss that. No. I missed it. And that's important stuff, so. Oh, gosh. Sorry, going the wrong way. Okay. Any questions? Yes. Data.
We are hearing about all of these great, huge data collection buildings that are being built around not just our city, but all over the world.
Sure.
that part of this, that they're doing that for these instant data collections?
Yep, okay. So I'm going to repeat that. So she's asking about, she said data. What is data? You hear about data this, and you're probably thinking data center. There's a data center here. There's a data center there. What does that mean? In my opinion, there is two main forms of data. There is proprietary data, and then there is personal data, right? So like Meta. Meta opened up, Meta is who owns Facebook now, by the way, sorry. I can't remember exactly where it's at, but Meta has a data center in Kansas City. And so in that instance, they are, what they mean by data center is, one, they have computers. So when you look at a website, even though you're going to facebook.com, that website is actually on probably 100,000 different computers, because it makes it faster. Because if there was only one computer that was on Facebook, and it was in California, and you were trying to use it from New York, it would be super slow, right? So it's not always data. Sometimes it's computers. Sometimes it's thinking resources, right? And then the data, if part of the data center would be what, like your Facebook posts, right? They have to store that somewhere, right? It's there for history. And then usually they have data centers, because your Facebook post, even though you post it once, it probably exists in Facebook's world probably 10, 20 times, because they have a data center here, and a lot of that is so in case Kansas City blows up, they have another one here, so on and so forth. Yeah, they are. No, Meta already has a data center here, and then more and more are coming. Oracle, so I'm sure everyone knows Cerner. Cerner was a local company that was bought by Oracle, which is a huge data center company that uses cloud, so they have data centers. But did I kind of answer your question? Does that make it clear?
Bad or good data centers?
Yeah. Yeah. It depends on how you view that, right? So if you don't care about what information you have out on the world, and you just want to make sure your Facebook works and it works as best as possible, or Facebook, any service, then it's fantastic, because you have geo redundancy. You've got a point here, and if that blows up, it goes to another point, and you'll never lose access to your Facebook. Now, if you start talking about data in the terms of how they're mining data from people, whether it's ignorance on their part or not, then you start getting into a bigger ethical question on that. But I don't have a good, is data centers bad? No, it's fine. It's a good question. It's a lot people want to know, and there's just not one easy answer for that. Yeah.
Is this gonna help with your private information or stuff getting hacked into
This class? Or
AI itself? Hacked in so much, but it's gonna create a bigger problem.
so yes, in a way, but not in the way that we're talking about today. So like AI in my world is different than AI that it might be to you. We use AI now to identify threats. Like, so when an attacker, or spam in emails, because everyone hates that. 90% of the emails that we're getting now are spam. And then the reason why, and you would even get even more of that if we weren't using AI. AI is being used by like Google, Yahoo, whatever, to identify and find patterns between bad emails and good emails. So it definitely can. That's just kind of on a back end. You'll never see it, but it is there. Okay, I'm going to go on. Write down your questions. Okay, how can we use it? So common examples, and again, we're talking about generative AI. That is usually the AI that we're talking about when people just say AI now, right? Voice assistants, chat bots. How many people have gone to a website and the little chat pops up in the bottom right window, and it's like, please talk to our AI assistant, and then they'll help you, and then usually it's no help. But yeah. Yeah. But they're being used for things like that. Auto-correcting grammar. I don't know. So I work in a multinational company, and Google Translate has definitely gotten better. And we're using AI to make language better, or translations better, patterns like that. So Also just correcting, like if you in Word or as you're typing an email, anything like that. GPS and maps, which routes are better. Photo tools, editing photos, and we'll get into how AI is really making photos hard to distinguish between real and fake. Healthcare devices. Healthcare is eating up AI because it helps with all sorts of stuff. Anyway, all that sort of stuff. I think I kind of explained this, but it's generative AI. It creates things, it writes, it creates pictures, arts, design, explains complex ideas, summarizes, brainstorms, right? Again, it doesn't have a true understanding, but it's able to kind of process data for you. And I'll give you some specific examples. So writing and communication. It can help you draft emails, letters, thank you notes, and newsletters. I have a confession to make. Has anyone actually logged in and looked at the blogs that I write? It's okay if you don't. I am one person and I do a lot, but I use AI to try and help me create and formulate a lot of the content I make. Of course, I always vet it because I am never going to try and give you incorrect information. But what it does good is it helps take words or concepts and put it into very digestible things. So that's how one way I'm personally utilizing it, right? Again, I want to be very clear. I'm not just copy and pasting whatever AI puts out and I'm telling you all that. But it does help take a broad concept and narrow it down. And the things like me, like if I go down, I'm not very good at writing. I'm very good at understanding, but not writing. So if I were to go down and write some of those articles that I'm writing, it's going to be way too technical, right? But I can even ask it. I'm like, okay, I want to write this information down, but I want to make it a little more understandable. And it's like, got it. I use the term, I use this a lot actually. Explain this like I'm 5. I like this a lot. But yeah, asking questions, summarizing articles, books, technology. I've also used it for this, creating meal plans, grocery lists, travel itineraries. Again, do you see how all this is a question in and a piece of content out? That's all it is. Productivity, creating checklists, schedules, meeting notes. If you say, hey, I have a vacation and I want to do all these things, but I have no clue how to get them all done in a week. It'll be like, oh, well, based on these times that the places are open and the distances and blah, 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 blah. It's nice, really. Yes.
Okay, I love that idea. I just don't know how to get to it on my phone.
We'll get there.
Okay.
Don't worry. I'm not going to leave you hanging. Anyway. Yeah. Does that all make sense so far? Questions? Yes.
You talked about a foreign language translator.
Yes.
What's the best one? I use Google Translate.
You can use Google Translate. It's come a long way. No, not really. ChatGPT, honestly. So the team that I work with a lot, they speak Danish. So I've used ChatGPT several times to post things in Danish. Usually I check with them first to make sure it actually reads correct. But 9 times out of 10, it also translates correctly. Google is also using AI models in the background to make sure language is correct, right? Because language isn't necessarily one-word translations, right? Which is what Google used to do. It used to say, okay, this word means this. But now it's being able to say, okay, based on this context, this is actually what it would say instead of this. So, yeah. Yes?
If I want to write a letter, can I just write a letter and then put it there?
Oh, man, I do this all the time.
And it corrects it or what?
All the time. So I hate writing. I really do. I've never been a good writer because as soon as I go down, I'm like, I know what I want to say, but I don't know how to say it. So all the time I'll copy my email into ChatGPT, whatever, and I'll say, can you please help me make it sound more like this and clean it up a bit? And it'll say, here you go. Yeah, so absolutely. Now, again, I'm going to get into what you should and should not be putting in there. But yes, in a general sense, absolutely. Any more questions?
Okay, explain that to me because I don't do writing because my handwriting is so poor.
Mm-hmm.
So you actually write an email response and then
Mhm.
you copy and paste it into ChatGPT.
And then what it gives me back, I copy back. except for if you're using Copilot. Copilot actually can plug into Outlook, and you can actually write directly into Outlook. That's one example of where Copilot and ChatGPT, even though they output similar stuff, it may be different because it's baked into those kind of things. Yeah.
One of the most interesting things that I saw in the news that somebody used, she was suffering from some life-threatening disease. The insurance company had refused her time and time again, and they used ChatGPT to submit another thing to the insurance company, and it got approved.
Yeah. So for those who didn't hear her, they and I want to clarify because that is a good way of using it, but you have to understand a couple things with that. So number one, hang on, let me back up. So for those of you who didn't hear her, she was talking about a story of someone who was fighting with an insurance company, and then they, of course, were probably speaking legalese over her head. So they dumped whatever their responses were into ChatGPT. ChatGPT can process legal documents and data very fast. So instead of being one person there trying to figure all that out, it did it for her. And then she was able to, yeah, probably spoke the correct language, and they were like, oh crap, we gotta do this now, find the loopholes, whatever. The thing is you have to be careful with that, because especially if you're using free models, when you input information into free models, there's always going to be a little description there. Whatever data you're putting in, you agree that they can record and keep forever. So if those legal documents you put in have personal information in it, it's very rare, but it's possible that that could be output from the algorithm. So you have to be just careful with that. But great case, exactly what I'm talking about in terms of what you're using. I just want to be very clear that I don't 100% have the trust yet with these companies, mostly because we don't have, like, Europe has the GDRP. Anyway, I think I'm saying that right. And it's a data protection policy, which is really stringent. And we don't have we have laws, but not as stringent at things like that. So we just have to be careful.
Siri and Alexa, is that AI?
Siri and Alexa, are they AI? They are becoming more AI, yes. They're probably using it more in the background. Them themselves are just voice recorders, and yeah. So most of the time, like let's get before ChatGPT. Siri and Google, all those kind of things, they had a lot of canned responses, meaning that they were looking for specific inputs from you, like way you should say things very specifically, like how's the weather today? Can you schedule this? And even though that's 100,000 different options, it's still a pretty static set of options. And then they started using some machine learning to say, okay, maybe if they said, what's the weather today instead of how's the weather today, maybe that's the same. Now they're starting to become more aware and if you're asking how's the weather today, then they're going to go to this specific resource to find that information. It's becoming more broad, meaning that you can ask them a general question and now puts it through these AI algorithms. And whether you say something specific or not, it can kind of figure it out. And then it can dynamically, meaning without being told specifically, go out, look at a whole bunch of resources, and then make a decision. Yeah, probably. Yes, and that's the kind of information, like your location based on for weather, that's the kind of information that I would consider privacy and not security. Because generally when you say location, they're going to know Kansas City area. So that's really a privacy thing, whether you want them to know whether you're there or not, but it's not normally a security concern because there's not much they can do with that information alone. But that is a good distinction there and a good example of that. Yeah.
Yes, I really want to buy an Alexa.
Sure.
I just think it's really thrilling.
Sure.
I've never had
one. Okay.
But I've heard they can tap into your. I'm sorry.
No. It's no.
I'll lose my privacy.
I'll repeat the question. No, 100%. So her question was, and there's a lot of stigma and concern about this. So like Alexa, if I put that in my house, is it spying on me, etc. The short answer, actually, I'm not going to give you a short answer. I'm going to give you the technical answer. So any of these things, Google, Alexa, whatever, you say hey Alexa, or hey Google, Alexa, whatever. For them to know that you say that, the microphone always has to be on, right? It's not like you turn the microphone on and then you speak, right? It's always listening in that sense. Now, it's all in legal documents, right? Legalese in giant things. But when you use a service and terms of service or privacy concerns, and it's that 1,000-page thing that you'll never read, but they make you agree to it. There's going to be stuff in there where it says, okay, we won't use this information, but we'll take and store this information. Usually nowadays there are certain laws against what kind of information they can actually store. But again, you're up to the trust of whether they're actually doing that or not. So in my personal opinion, Alexas and stuff are generally safe to use in terms of a security aspect. In a privacy aspect, where they're using information to like send you ads for things that you're interested in, that's debatable. Oh yeah. You never talk about something and then get an ad for it later? Yeah. Yeah. Yes. Did you have a question?
Yes, okay, Kevin left, it was in one room.
Yeah.
We was in another room having a conversation, it just came on and butted.
That is interesting, but it's probably because either one.
It was already on, she just butted in the conversation.
From another room. So there's usually two things that causes that. Number one, the acoustics in your home and it just happened to hear you. Or number two, there's many reasons, but the most common ones I could think of. A lot of the times, devices, when you configure them, they're set for certain locations. So maybe the locations are off on the devices, so it thinks you're in one room versus another. So in other words, like if I have a bedroom and then I have a living room, if I put those two devices there and I associate one with the bedroom and one with the living room, even if both can hear me, it's going to pick whatever's closer. So it is freaky though, regardless. I mean,
so
yeah.
Alexis has nothing.
No.
Will Alexa also become part of AI?
Well, that's the thing is anytime you're a human wanting a response,
right,
there's an opportunity to use AI whether you know it or not. So is Alexa and Siri using it a lot now? I don't really know. I didn't look into that, to be honest with you. But I can only assume that it's going to be natural for, instead of Siri using canned responses like it's using now, to use an AI model so that you can tell it anything and it can have a general sense of what to give you back. Yeah. Okay, I'm going to go on. Sorry. Okay, these are the big rules to follow when you're using AI. Keep personal info private. Again, those of you who have been in any of my classes know my spiel about PII, personal identifiable information, social security numbers, credit card numbers, phone numbers, house addresses, any of that. Please don't provide that to it. It's just, like I said, especially if you're using a free version, your data, once you put it in there, it's theirs. They are legally allowed to. Whether that's right or wrong, this isn't an ethics discussion. At this point, they are allowed to keep all that information and store that. And you don't want that. You just don't want that. Double check facts. I mean, for silly things like writing papers and whatnot, fine. But I've used it for, let me see if I can come up with a really good example. Like cleaning supplies. Let's just say you're asking like, okay, I want to clean this bathroom. What's the best thing to use? And it's like, oh, mix this together with that together, and then this is a good cleaner or something like that. That's a silly example, but it's like, if you don't verify that those things are safe to put together, you could be doing yourself a really big harm. And yeah, right? Yeah, exactly. And that goes back to it doesn't have an understanding. It doesn't have emotions. It's not going to be like, oh, maybe I shouldn't tell them this because it could turn out bad. No, right? We're going to get into this a little deeper, but don't believe everything you see online. That's always been true. Now it's getting even worse because it is getting very, very good. It's even very hard for me sometimes to discern. Anyway, well, there's a deeper conversation on that I'm going to get into. Try trusted resources like Microsoft Copilot and ChatGPT. Again, I'm going to mention this one more time because it's very important, but there is a lot of AI models out there now. As soon as ChatGPT released, it was a boom in the industry. My opinion right now is to stick to the name brands like ChatGPT, Microsoft Copilot. Number one, they're established. Number two, they're under the gun. And if they start doing crazy stuff, they're going to be heavily scrutinized. Now, if you start using all these low-level ones, maybe they're doing illegal stuff with your data, and there's so many of them right now, it's most likely that they probably won't be caught for a very long time if they are doing something crazy. So make sure you know where you're putting your information. I mean, you shouldn't be putting personal information in any of them, but stick with the big names so that you know that you're not interacting with anything insane.
So ChatGPT, is that an app?
I'm going to get to that. I promise. You're fine. See, look, right now, demo.
Oh, good.
Okay. I'm going to come here so I can see what I'm doing at the same time. Okay, so this is my personal, I know it's a little hard to see and I'm sorry, I don't have a fix for that. This is my personal account, right? So ChatGPT is an app, but it's also a website, right? This is just one example, but this is very typical nowadays of what an AI interface looks like. So chatgpt.com, and then here we are. And I'm going to essentially point out the kind of things to you here. So literally it's a chat system. You're going to tell it something like a conversation, and it's going to output something. Does anyone want to have an idea of something we could make it do? Does anyone want to be brave enough to try that? All right, fine. Hello, I am teaching a seminar on AI. Can you give me ideas on what to show them on how to use you? It's fine if my ink, I'm gonna not fix all that.
You spelled show wrong.
It's fine.
It's thinking.
It's thinking?
Yeah.
Oh, that little thing.
Yeah, see?
She has a brain.
Absolutely. Here's a clean, practical.
Oh my. Wow.
Yeah, see?
Are you at their website?
Yep, ChatGPT. I'm on their website because I'm on my computer right here.
Are you limited to how much you can use on the website?
No. So I will get into this, but most AI versions have a free version and a paid for version. So do you see up here where it says ChatGPT?
Yes, right.
Right
Yeah.
here?
Uh-huh.
Okay, so do you see where it says, oh man, it really doesn't show that very well. But there's what they call models. And so essentially what they're doing now is they give you a certain model, their highest, latest, front end, fastest, smartest, whatever. They give you like 10 credits, 10 chats with that, and then they bump you back down. So things might take a little longer, a little slower. But there's not usually a hard cap on using it at all. It's kind of the same thought of like, you know, when they talk about unlimited data, but it's really like, okay, you get 5 gigs super fast, and then after that they slow you down. It's unlimited because you can use as much as you want, but the speed isn't unlimited. Same thing. So you use ChatGPT super fast for a while, and then they'll slow you down a little bit, but you can still technically use it. Yeah. And
So you could use ChatGPT if you're going on a trip and say, hi, this is whoever. I'm curious on where
Yeah.
to stop off the beaten path in Spain or whatever. Or area.
I don't.
TI. ITI.
Sorry,
Use the mic. Show them how to use the mic.
my computer's all the way over there.
Sorry.
No, it's fine. But yeah. Anyway, sorry for my bad typing. But see what I mean? So design me an itinerary and a food plan. Who's going? Oh, it's like, oh yeah, I did forget to include how many kids, adults, whatever. How long? 3 days, whatever. And it says, what kind of activities do you want? So it's actually smart enough to be like, you didn't even give me enough information.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. adults.
You don't have, it has no emotion. It's not, it can't.
That's right, it has no emotion.
I just need one last detail to finish. How long? How? Oh yeah, sorry. 5 days. Perfect. Here's a 5-day Branson, Missouri itinerary for 2 adults. Focus on theme parks. Look at that.
You continue to ask questions.
Yeah.
Correct? Okay.
That's why it's called chat, and that is the reason why this has gotten so popular, because at the very beginning, ChatGPT, being a narrow AI, had one job. The one job it did really well was mimic language. That's all it designed. It's done a lot of things now, right? But at the very beginning, all its job was is to be able to respond to you like a human.
So,
Like a human.
So, for instance, I want to tell the story of my life, to leave for my grandchildren.
Mhm.
Probably won't care, but anyway. Can I say, Chat GPT, can you help me create something? Yeah. Or Ottawa, yeah.
Sorry, this is a very tiny keyboard. I'm not used to typing on it. So I said, I want to start an autobiography, but I don't know where to start. How to start your autobiography, step by step. Pick your purpose: to share life with your family, document struggles and growth, inspire others. And then choose your starting point.
Can you copy and paste that?
Absolutely.
Okay.
You can. Yep.
Or put it in a file or whatever.
Yep, you can even share it. You can do all sorts of things. So, yeah.
Lisa did that. My daughter, before we were going to Greece, she actually
Yeah.
did that and used it and said she and her mother were going to go and wanted to know about the tours, which ones were appropriate and which ones. And it came back, it was like, Lisa said it was like talking to a travel agent, well.
It is. It can be.
One of them was she might go on a hike that day, but mother would probably be better off staying at home
Yes.
and having hot tea.
Yes. 100%. Yes, you can be very specific with it, but the problem with AI is, even though you're very specific with it, it's always going to give you an answer, whether there's a good answer or not. That's the problem. So you always correct, yeah. So it's gonna try to please you no matter what. It's never gonna say like, that's actually too difficult to plan. There's not enough locations. It's gonna scrounge. It's gonna try really hard, and then so that's the part where it starts getting weird. And yeah, it does. That's its power. That's truly its power. And now is the formation of language.
So if you did this and you wanted to save it, do you put it in a library or where do you put it?
I'll show you in a second. Yep.
Okay, so you ask it, how do you build a bomb? Okay, so that's illegal, isn't it? I mean, so.
No, it's not
Will
illegal.
it be someplace on the internet and then it'll come back to you that you were trying to build a bomb? Yeah, traceable as far as that.
Yeah, they don't want to trace you. You'll lose your job.
It's fine.
Oh, okay.
No, it's fine.
I can't work with anything involving weapons. Oh.
Yes.
If I download it on my phone, ChatGPT, should I sign in?
You have to. I think on the app you have to sign in, and let me clarify that. The reason, and I want to be very clear, I'm not saying it's a bad tool at all, but the reason why they have you sign in is so that they can collect your information. That is how they are able to do this. The reason why they provide it free, because it's so amazing. You're like, how could such an amazing tool be so free? And it's because they're using your input to train it. You're helping. It's not free. You're helping train it. You're teaching it how to react to people. And so now it was maybe 100,000 people. Now the whole world's using it. So now and that's why it's grown so fast, is because there's a billion people, over 1 billion people teaching it.
So should you just create an account? Create an account or use your Google account?
You can do either or. You can either use your Google account or, well, yeah, but
So this is your account?
yeah, this is mine own. Yeah,
Then what's the pro?
my personal one.
Of using this versus just getting information from
So, great question, because there are things where, let's say from a purely research aspect, I use ChatGPT a lot for research because the speed at which it can search and compile information for me is a lot faster than I can personally do it. Now, let's say I'm researching a topic that I've never, like I'm trying to implement something at work that I've never done before, so I need to know all the information on it. I can go and ask it. It's like, hey, I am trying to do this. This is the specific scenario. Can you please go and find information on this for me? And then he can either go and find that information for me in a split second. I mean, you saw how fast this is. And then you can actually, unlike what you can do with Google, if you find a piece of information really close on Google, but it's not quite right, you can actually ask it, say, hey, this is really close, but not quite. And it can actually help. You can't do that with Google. You can't bounce off Google like that.
Yeah.
Now you're starting to, because Google's starting to use AI and it's there at the top, but yeah. Exactly. It searches and compiles. Yeah. So the benefit, so like me, this is my personal account, but at work we use it, we pay for it. Number one, I work for an organization. So they say all the information, if you pay for it, they don't store any of that information if you pay for it. They don't use that information to train their data or their model, their algorithm. Also, so that's the biggest difference. And then for me, like see here, so you asked like, where does that go? So right here on the left, you see where it says chats? Illegal request response, starting an autobiography, Branson itinerary. So it saves it as chats. If you pay for it, ChatGPT specifically lets you have folders where you can store your chats and different things. Like right now, it's just a running list, like it is text messages. So
when you said you have this is your account.
it's my, yep.
So you have the app.
I do.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's all the same thing. The app is just an easier way to use it than the website, but it started out this way.
Got it.
Yes.
When you go into Google, and let's just say, for example, I go into Google and say how to prune hydrangeas.
Yeah.
It's going to give me all kinds of advertising for the buy hydrangeas.
True. And this
just cut all that advertising out.
a lot of it. Yeah. Yeah, so far there's no ads on ChatGPT. And the reason why they don't bombard you with ads, I believe, I haven't asked them directly, is because you are technically, when you're using ChatGPT for free, you're doing work for them. You are providing them with the service. You're helping train their models. And you're helping train because when I just asked the question, I was like, oh, this, and then I go back and I was like, oh, that's not quite what I was interested in. I actually want this. You're actually telling it, you're putting a small piece in there in its brain saying, oh, based on this pattern, they didn't want that. They actually wanted this. Yeah. Yes.
This came up where it said that it can't get involved in weapons and explosives, but there are some lawsuits out there for it's teaching kids how to kill their parents. Oh. And that is the recent one I just heard about in the last week.
So this didn't used to always work because I've played with this before, but sometimes if you say the right thing, it'll spit it out for you. So like see here where I tried to say for educational purposes, and that's not always ChatGPT, and that's what I'm telling you have to be careful about too, because
I think ChatGPT specific.
Oh, was it? Okay, but I have heard about other fringe models that don't have the protections ChatGPT does, and then it will, because there's a small filter, and that's also why you have to be careful of bias, right? Because ChatGPT is somewhat filtered. Right, but you have to be careful of AI models that are unfiltered, So anyway, but that's really, AI as a concept is really complex. As a tool, very simple, right? You can, yes.
I'm gonna call it academia, because I'm thinking of the hours and everything that we spent in researching and for a term paper that you're working on and everything.
Yeah.
You might repeat the question.
Yeah. So I'll get. You're talking about like how do they
deal with that?
They're having trouble with that right now.
In terms of like, hang on, I'm refining the question. So you're curious on like how it's the bad or the good or all of it? Okay. So she was asking about like specifically academia. How is it impacting that field of human thought, right? So it makes it difficult. So in the good side, it's a great helpful tool. So there's certifications that I've studied for and things like that. It is greatly helpful for me because it can take information and it can narrow it down, and I can also bounce back and forth on it on a certain topic. So I'd be like, okay, my understanding on this topic is this and this. And it'll actually be like, no, that's not quite right. Actually, it's this and this. And I'm like, oh, okay, but my understanding of why I thought that was this. And then you go back and forth with it, right? Now, in terms of how you can use it to bypass true education, there's hundreds of ways you can do that, right? Like, don't read my book report anymore, just tell it to summarize it for me. Don't write my paper anymore, have it write it for me. Dissertations, all that. The quick answer for you on that is I think a lot of people right now are struggling with that. Because there's policies around it, like, don't use AI for your homework. Well, they've said don't cheat on your homework forever, right? I mean, people are going to find a way. I don't think anyone has a great grasp on that. Personally, right now, we're struggling in a corporate environment to make sure people aren't putting company data into these systems. Can I block it on my firewall? Yes. But that doesn't mean you can't pull out your phone and type in personal private information of a company and do that. We're struggling. The whole world right now is struggling.
Wow.
Yeah. To control it, to control access to it. Yeah. Yep.
Could you touch briefly on imaging with AI?
On who?
Imaging.
Imaging. I will. I'll get there. Anyway, I'm going to go off from this, but it's really that simple. You just talk to it. That's the beauty of it. You said imaging, correct? Yep. Okay. I have like 15 minutes. This is going to take longer than 15 minutes. I'm going to stay. Don't feel rude for leaving. Unless I get kicked out by Bridge. Not today?
We don't kick you out today.
Good. Okay.
And we don't personally.
No, I know. I'm just... Okay, so sorry, I skipped. So this is the can we trust it, right? This may actually be fairly brief because you guys have been really good at asking questions. I think I've hit on a lot of it so far. But this goes into the imaging, and that's what I'm going to go. We're going to talk on kind of the bad side of it, and if you have more questions on that, I can go into that too. Can we trust AI? That's a great question, isn't it? Can we trust it? I think we can. I know you guys are going to roll your eyes because I've said this all the time. Is there such thing as a bad tool?
Yes.
Well, okay. Hang on, let me refine what I'm saying. Hang on.
I was honest.
No, true. Okay, I need to refine. So let me say that again. AI is not a bad tool, but it is a tool, like anything. People ask me all the time, well, Facebook Messenger, there's so many scams and whatnot. Is that a bad thing? It's like, no, it's not a bad. It's a good tool. It's being used bad. AI is one of those things. It can be a good tool, but it can be used poorly, right? And so again, I'm going to go into really quick because this is the biggest thing. The number one thing you're interacting with any of these AIs is the information you're putting into it. So, to be clear, AI systems learn from examples, not personal experience. So the only thing that can kind of replicate personal experience in things that they are outputting for you. Like, in other words, I asked it for a travel itinerary. It probably technically works, but does that mean that it's an actual good configuration, a way to do things? No clue. It doesn't have that experience. It just has information, what's open, how's close, things like exactly. But it doesn't have experience. Keep that in mind. Like me, I've used it to verify my diet and workout routines. On numbers, does that work? Yes. For me, it doesn't. It's never had to lose weight before, right? So, and it doesn't have a metabolism. It doesn't crave anything, right? Right, yeah. No. And to be clear, it does not know any private information unless you give it to it. Like in anything security that you've heard me say before, you are in control. Whether you feel like it or not, you are in control. It predicts answers based on patterns and data. It doesn't know anything. To be very clear, it is very good at making you believe that it knows things, but all it does is do patterns. Really, really complex patterns, right? Because it seems like it, but it doesn't know anything. And it may store conversations to improve the system. That's the big part. You need to make sure that when you're putting stuff in, you're okay with that being somewhere forever, right? What AI gets wrong? Hallucinations. So because we want to convince ourselves, I think, even further that these things are actually thinking, we call things that they say wrong hallucinations, like it's having an off day and it's just but it kind of makes sense because hallucinations, you can argue that it's a trick of the brain creating a scenario. And I think that's what they're trying to get at here, is where the AI is not necessarily, even though it's mostly factional, it does try to make certain predictions.
And what would be an example of that? Because it's going off of stored information. So what would be an example of a hallucination?
Yeah. I'm trying to think of a good example because it does happen.
Because it's all factual.
It's not necessarily all factual though. It uses, so here's, and maybe I need to clarify, maybe I'm saying, so it uses data, which is factual, but then that data gets processed by an algorithm, and that algorithm depicts what it puts out. So that's why we say garbage in, garbage out, because if it's getting bad data in, it's going to give bad data out. And maybe that was confusing.
Possibly relating back to a previous medical. It
Yeah.
doesn't know yours. It's just giving you these are, so that could be it.
Yep, absolutely. So like a hallucination in that sense in medical could be like if you're not using your name, you're just using a generic sense of symptoms, right? And then it says, okay, based on these symptoms, you have this. But maybe it didn't know that you were in your 70s versus your 20s. So based on your age alone, it gave you a whole nother thing. So it's a hallucination. And that's kind of similar. That's really bad data in and you're getting bad data out because it doesn't have all the things. The hallucinations, these are really what we're trying to tune out. Again, it uses data to try to make some predictions. And I'm trying to think of a good example. Sure, you can do that too, recipes. Like,
I was gonna say, if you didn't give it all the information.
Yeah.
That what you wanted the outcome to be, if it doesn't, it wouldn't give you what, the
Yeah.
German chocolate cake.
Exactly. Or maybe you just give it some ingredients and you say, what can I make with this? I've certainly not done that myself. You can it can just come up with something random, right? So it's hard. I'm sorry, I don't have a good example for you, but it's yeah. It has to do with the way that it thinks what you want, right? Yeah.
I was wondering about the videos that you see on sometimes Facebook that have animal behavior that is not, like.
We'll get to that.
Predator.
Yeah.
Doing something it shouldn't have done.
Yep.
Is that kind of what
Yes, that's actually a pretty good example. Thank you for that. So we'll get into that more, but like videos, AI is getting pretty good at making videos. There's specific AIs that are designed to making images, content. And so if they have the incorrect, like you said, if there's I don't know, like a bear walking on two legs, walking through the front door or something like that. I've seen some crazy stuff. That's a hallucination in that sense because it thinks that's how it should be, but it's not in reality, right? So what is other crazy things I've seen? Oh, like, jumping, a human jumping over something, but they end up going 5 foot in the air. And you're like, that is not possible, but it doesn't know the difference, right? I think I've already touched on this pretty good, but please, don't put sensitive information in there. Don't ask it, hey, is this a good, strong password? Yeah, right? Yeah.
That's probably something I do.
Yeah, medical records. Yeah, I'm gonna say no on that. Anything, you know what I mean? If you're not okay with someone else having it, it's not private. It's not private at all. Okay. Yes.
When you say data,
So with ChatGPT specifically, there's two kinds of information as I understand it. There is the information that ChatGPT can go and find, and there's the information that ChatGPT owns. So a lot of the information that ChatGPT owns is like what people have given as inputs and stuff like that. But there's a lot of companies and databases that have been linked to ChatGPT so that it can reference those. So let's say like scholarly articles or things like that. If it's public, it can go and find those. So it may not store it locally, but it has access to it. So there is some stuff that it has stored, and there's some stuff that it can go and find. Yes?
I had Google and I was looking for something and it asked if I had information and I made a mistake clicking that.
Sure.
Is there a way to remove that?
Yeah, so specifically with Google, it's going to be deep in your settings, but there's a spot in there where in your settings where it says privacy and security, and then you'll see the checkboxes next to things that you've allowed it to do. I can write that down and make a more specific article on that, but yeah, the problem with that is they want that. So all that data that you're giving them, it's not usually a security risk, it's a privacy risk, and they want to have that information because it benefits them. So they're going to make turning it off buried, right?
That did not give them access back in the computer, though.
Good, yeah. That would be a security thing versus a privacy thing. Yeah. Questions? Okay, so this starts to get into the imaging thing. So what you were talking about. So there is, I believe it's also owned by OpenAI or it's used by AI, but ChatGPT itself is one thing. It's really good at doing chats, human language. There's another model, AI, that's really good at generating images. ChatGPT does not generate images. It talks to you. That's what it's good at. It's called Sora, which I didn't write up here, but that's SORA, is the number one image generating platform that they have now. If you pay for certain versions of ChatGPT, you can actually click on Sora inside of the interface, and it'll take you to another thing where it generates images for you. AI images are only going to start getting better and better because it's learning, right? So think about the way it talks to you. It probably didn't do it very well at first, but then once you started being like, what you're saying makes no sense to me, then it makes a note of that. Okay, what I just said didn't make sense, so I'm going to try and say it this way. And so think about doing that billions, trillions of times. It's going to learn pretty quick. It's doing the same thing with images. Like in other words, if you saw an image of a wolf, like going up to a lake and grabbing a fish out of the water like a bear would, you're going to be like, that's not real. It's going to be like, okay, not real. Sorry. Got it. So in other words, it's taking that concept and it's turning all these into what we call, or into AI scams and deepfakes. So deepfake is what we call because anything that seems like human, that's really hard to distinguish. So that's happening with voices. There's been some scams going around where they've gotten access through your voice, through either they scam you in one way, like they get you on the phone and they record your voice and they use AI to replicate that, or they get pictures of you and they use that to replicate, and so then they can make video out of that, all sorts of things. That's not to make you feel fearful, right? Because I'm saying a lot of like, oh, it can take me, it can replicate me, right? There's still a lot of indications right now of what's fake and what's not. Again, for those of you who have always been in my security classes, context always matters. If it seems like something's fake, it probably is fake, or too true, it probably is. But that's what we're starting to call them. We're calling them deep fakes because they're hard to distinguish. And this comes in the form of voice, video, photo. Remember like when Photoshop was the thing to make things look real? Well, think about like Photoshop, but like 1,000 times better, right? And actually Photoshop itself uses AI now, and you can actually just say, oh, make it look like this and it'll do it for you. I don't really have good examples for you on this because I don't want to just start going around and Googling deep fakes, and I don't know, there's some weirdness to that, right? Any questions on this though? Any specific questions? Yeah.
The first thing I think of on that, as far as it's, I'm not concerned that anybody's gonna try to take, but like politicians,
Sure. I've had the thought too, right?
and that gets scary.
It does get scary. So, I mean, any public figure that has a lot of, so think about the more realistic of an output you're going to get that's fake is going to be better with the more input you get. So anyone who's been on camera a lot or has a lot of audio recorded, sure, sure, then they're highly susceptible to that. I don't have a lot of information on this. This is just a major concern that we're starting to see. It's starting to affect certain areas, but I don't have really good example of a government that's been taken down by it yet. But it is definitely a concern that we have as we talk about this subject, right? But that's a lot of what we talk about with imaging. And then, like, if you want to do imaging with AI, a lot of people use it for silly, fun stuff, right? It's pretty much just like anything else. You find like Sora or ChatGPT, and you ask it just like normal. Please generate me an image of so on and so forth. I don't think the free version will let me do that because generating images is quite expensive for the AI companies. So you most likely have to pay to get image generation features. Not saying that language, like it outputting text to you, isn't expensive for them, but the amount of brain power, computer power that it takes to generate images now, whether they're realistic or not, is quite high. So there's not as many free versions of that aren't sketchy. So, okay. So again, how do we kind of protect ourselves against this? You kind of have to start. I think the best thing. Ooh, let me revise that. I wish I had a good, safe way of telling you, but as you go through things, I think the more you're exposed to it, the more it's going to become clear, right? More and more examples that you see. So a lot of what we're noticing now is things are too perfect in photos and overly smooth faces. This is actually very true. So AI isn't very good. It's not creative, right? So it's not very good at just generating random things, right? Like a lot of our facial features and stuff like that, or how we appear over time, is based on randomness. So it pretty much smooths stuff out. Also, for some reason, most of the models that are out right now, they're not very good with fingers or toes or legs. There are things that I've had generated and it gives it like 3 fingers or toes or things like that. Words that sound slightly off. That's more regarding like video generation. If it seems like it has weird language or the kind of garbled and you can't quite tell, some of that's like filling in. It knows what it wants to say, but then it doesn't really have the information. Yeah.
I was watching something that was on Amazon gadgets, and it gave the price, and it said the price was like $10.99, but it was saying it was 1,000, and it was given the wrong amount, so it was reading it wrong, I guess.
Yeah, probably.
So it was probably AI.
Probably, yeah. Yeah.
When they do like age progression photos and
Mhm.
stuff like that, like for missing children,
Mhm.
are they using an AI system now, or are they using something else?
I don't have information for you on that, to be honest. I would assume that would be one of the positive things that we can start using it for. Again, you're going to see me or you're going to feel that I'm not saying a lot about this because I don't have a lot of experience with this yet. This is very...
You talked about strange hands
No, sure.
and stuff like that, but we see things age progression for missing
Yeah.
children and stuff like that.
I actually don't know, but I would assume that they would start using it because to a certain degree, it is decent at guessing what things might look like, right? But again, it's very, and this is very bleeding edge, very new. Like image generation, it's huge and it's growing. Repeated phrases or images or whatever. Again, it's not very good. Also, for whatever reason, AI is very good with the foreground of photos if you're looking at stuff, but not very good with the background. And that's usually because it contains more detail. It's not very detail oriented. Fake or impossible. That's also a thing too. If it looks like it would be fake or impossible, it probably is. Any questions? I know this isn't very detailed. Yeah, we don't have a lot of details on this yet. And this is all stuff I've already said. Okay. There is technically a whole nother section, but we pretty much covered it. I was gonna talk about the future of AI, but we've pretty much well covered that. Essentially, long story short of it, it's gonna start becoming more and more integrated in our lives. Hospitals are gonna use it to do diagnoses, we believe. GPS apps are gonna use it to do navigation better. I mean, think of anything that could be helpful with a whole bunch of information, and they're gonna start plugging AI into it. The one thing I was going to touch on was what we believe right now the future of AI is, and right now there's a lot of workflows, including my own, that are utilizing it just to make their jobs better, right? Cut out the fluff, you know. So a lot of what's being cut out right now in terms of jobs, because I feel like a lot of people, at least my age, are worried about our futures in terms of this taking it all out. But it's really not changing the important decision making stuff. It's taking, like I said, writing emails. It takes me 10, 20 minutes to write an email because I overthink it, and then now I can just go for it, plug it in, and let it give its response. Any questions? Yes.
So you plug in a image into ChatGPT?
Yes, I wish Joyce was here, because she uses it brilliantly. So she's blind, and she actually uses ChatGPT to find descriptions of images. So I hope she doesn't mind me sharing that. But I thought that was so ingenious of her to do that. But she actually will use it to plug in images, and it will give back a description of what's in the image. So absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, she is. I was super proud of when I heard that, because I would have never thought to do that. But yeah.
The AI could possibly one day replace Photoshop.
Oh, so it's already working its way there. So we have a marketing department, of course, and when Adobe released the beta version of their AI stuff, it was hot topic, right? So we were playing with it. But Photoshop, which is the traditional photo editing software, right? It has AI built into it now, and it can do all sorts of things. You can just say, hey, there's a person in this background. Can you remove that? And then it'll do it for you. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So yes, absolutely. I don't know if it will ever completely replace it, but it will get really close to doing 90% of the work, and then most likely a human will have to clean it up. AI as it is now is, I don't think, ever going to replace humans. It's going to be whatever that next step we find is. And I don't know what that is, because, yeah. Any other questions? I know it was a lot of information. Thank you for your patience. Yeah. Thank you.